chapter 7, God invited Noah to go into the ark. Imagine this, you built the whole ark, but you're so obedient to God that you didn't even feel that this ark was yours. You were building it for God. And usually when you do something creative and you're doing it for God, even if it's a job that you hated, because God said you work, when you're working, just imagine or visualize yourself working for me instead of these evil people that usually bosses are. And if you hate your job because of your boss, make a paradigm shift in your head and say, okay, I'm doing this for the Lord. I'm not doing this for these people. I'm just working for the Lord. You will feel so much better. So I'm going to tell you my testimony after this video. All right, so chapter 7, God invites Noah to come into the ark. And he said, come into the ark, Noah and your family and everybody. He didn't say go into the ark. So what does that mean? It means that he was already inside the ark. He was already waiting for Noah to come into the ark. And then Noah, in obedience, just went in, and he knew that there was going to be salvation at the end of all this. And he didn't question God. He didn't complain about anything. He just obeyed because he trusted God, and he knew that God was going to make this whole ship their refuge, him and his family's refuge. So he goes into the ark in active obedience. That's a very good word. Not only did he believe that God was going to send the flood, he also did everything that God asked him to do. So God commanded the animals to migrate into the ark by way of divine power and not by human skill. So after 100 years of building this ark, you would think that Noah and his family are like so impatient. Oh, come on, when is this going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. But yet, when they went inside the ark, God waited 7 days before he sent the rains. So Noah and the kids didn't even know what rain was because it never rained. This is going back to the first part of Genesis when God ordered the waters of the heavens and the earth to separate and put the sky in between and the firmament. In the beginning, this is earth, right? This is earth. And what he did was earth was covered in water. Everything was covered in water. God said, separate the waters of the heavens between the waters of the heavens and the waters of the earth. So it's separated like this. So there's a firmament that's holding up all the waters in heaven, right? And so then the waters of the earth kind of moved out so that the land would show up. And so when he sent the rain, the 40 days and 40 nights, he opened up the firmament of the waters of the heavens to fall down into the earth. So it's got to be really powerful, filling up this whole entire earth, right? Can you just imagine like water being suspended around the earth and the gravity just holding it, and like earth and heaven are filled with waters. And it was also believed that this is when the heavens containing the great waters that were above the firmament in Genesis 1:7 opened up. These waters formed the huge so-called blanket of water in the upper part of the earth's atmosphere since creation. So the upper part, I wonder if that's the reason why the sky is blue. The sky is always blue. Sky is always blue. I'm not close to the ocean, but sky is always blue. Is that because it's a reflection of the water that's above the firmament of heaven? So also it was believed that there was water seeping up from underneath the earth to fill the land with water. So I'm not doubting that. That makes a lot of sense, because if the waters went all the way up above, it says 2 or 3 miles above. Let's not jump because the fountains of the great deep that were broken up, waters came up from under the earth also, no doubt accompanied by great geological catastrophe. So for 40 days, 40 is going to be a number of testing and purification, because 40 days and 40 nights, the flood, and then there was 40 days and 40 nights that Jesus fasted, and Israel's time in the wilderness was 40 days. Elijah's miraculous journey to Sinai is 40 days. Oh, Jesus' temptation in the wilderness was 40 days. There's a lot of 40 days, the number 40 days, the number of days, 40 days that's being mentioned in the Bible that became associated with testing and purification. So 40 days and 40 nights being tested and being purified, the earth was. The door of the ark was shut. This represents that God shut the door. There's a lot of representation, which is really, really cool, because Noah didn't shut the door. God shut the door, which represents shutting the door to anybody else outside of the ark's salvation. So Noah didn't shut the door to the salvation of these people. As a matter of fact, he was trying to get people to save themselves and listen. And I mean, it's got to be really bad in those days. I can't even imagine how bad they were. But because it was like the early times of the world, maybe what's bad then isn't too bad as it is now, but it's still bad. But it just angered God, and God is just like really hurt, but because of the sins that were being committed, and the people not repenting for their sins and coming back to God and going back to basics pretty much. So, and he kept it open. God kept it open to the last possible minute, just in case somebody tries to go in there. But here's the thing. When the doors open, God opens the door and says, hey, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. And I can just imagine what it'll be like in the time of rapture, where God will say, Jesus will say, enough is enough. This is it. Anybody who has not repented, who has not come back to me before this rapture, sorry, you're out of luck. Shut the door, no more. So when the waters started to fill up, it raised up the ark just like a ship, right? It goes all the way up. Okay, so I can't remember where I read that the waters rose up so high that it was at the highest peak of the mountains of the earth. It is 2 or 3 miles above that. So can you even imagine what 2 or 3 miles? How far 2 or 3 miles is? So imagine 2 or 3 miles above the highest mountain of the earth. That's crazy. That's a flood. So if somebody said, okay, so then after, like, I'm just gonna jump a little bit here, because God said that I would never wipe out a civilization using floods, right? If he says he's not gonna wipe out, people anymore, kill anyone else, or allow people to die in a flood anymore, but then people still die in floods, he doesn't mean just a local flood. He filled the whole entire earth with water, okay? The entire world was filled with water. That's what he means by he's not gonna wipe out the civilization anymore using a flood, via flood. But here's the thing. There's word In the book of Revelation, I read the book of Revelation 2 or 3 times already. This is the what's so weird is people don't read the book of Revelation because number one, they think it's symbolic. Number two, I think they're just afraid of what's to come. And they don't want to think about it. They just want to like dismiss it from their minds so that they don't have to think about it. But it's really important to read the book of Revelation. So as a matter of fact, read the book of Revelation before you go back to Genesis and then through the whole Bible, because it'll give you perspective of what's about to come and why it's so important for us to know God and to have a close relationship with Him. So then when this happens, so the word is in book of Revelation is that He's gonna wipe this whole earth out with fire. And think about it, everybody who's not a believer of God will go into the pit of fire, into the lake of fire with everybody else who is like just so evil that you just deny the existence of God. That's really crazy to deny. Also, I got my first troll on Instagram that said that how arrogant is she that she thinks she knows what the creator of the whole world is thinking. And the reason why I say is a troll is because number one, I don't think they even watched the video at all, because I don't put the words in God's mouth. I only impart what I understand from what I've read in the Bible. So I'm not going to even entertain. As a matter of fact, I deleted the whole comment because it's just Satan trying to discourage me from doing this, and I'm not going to let anybody, Satan or anybody, discourage me from doing this. You got to do you. If you don't think that I'm saying right, don't watch it and don't believe me and go watch something else. But make sure that whoever you're watching, whoever you're following, is leading you straight to God, because that's what I'm trying to do here, is to make you understand or have encourage you to understand what I understood about when I read the Bible. And I don't think that I'm going off on a tangent and just putting in my own opinions about it. It's not opinions, it's how I understand the Bible to be. And also reading the concordance that really makes sense. This is the enduringword.com. It makes sense to me what they're saying. And so I'm trying to explain and trying to put together what's going on today, the current state of affairs of the world, putting it together with what I've read, and making sure that people understand, if anything else, that we all need to go turn back to God. We all need to repent for our sins, because we never know. It's just in the blink of an eye. It's what Jesus said. Jesus' word, and Jesus is God. In the blink of an eye is when He'll come and rapture His children, his church up. That's all I care about. If it happens to be right now or 10 minutes from now, I know I'm going to be ready. And so I'm just trying to help the other people that are trying to win souls for God out as much as I can in my own capacity. Because had it not been for God directing me and guiding me to do this, I would not have done this. And I say this every single time. I am not a speaker. I am afraid of it. It scares me to pieces to be able to talk. Even though I'm talking to a camera, I still visualize people out there, who want to learn and who want to listen to me. I still keep you in mind that there's an audience out there. And it scares me. Even if I pretend that everybody is naked, that doesn't work for me. It's like I just need to be able to get this done, get this over with, and make sure that I have done the best that I can in my own capacity. with what God asked me to do. Okay. So because everybody came from the family of Noah, if you think about it, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. If you look at the genealogy, some of them migrated to different parts of the the world, and because we all come from his family, Noah's family, we are all related. So here's the thing: when people are being racist to other people, it's you're being racist to your brother and sister or to your family member. We all come from the same family. And if you talk to people from different parts of the world, somehow, some way, someone, especially the older generation, will be able to talk about the story of a flood, a great flood. Okay, so you go to, and it says right here, Boyce. One of the most remarkable is the Babylon. Literally, hundreds of people, groups have their own accounts of the legends of the flood. One of the most remarkable is the Babylonian account, which is similar to the Genesis account in many ways and is clearly drawn from it. Since mankind came from Noah's sons, all mankind remembers the flood. Boyce, Boice, maybe you can research who this person is, but specifically cites the legends of the Samo Kubo tribe of New Guinea, the Athapascan Indians of America, and the Papago Indians of Arizona, Brazilian tribes, Peruvian Indians, African Hottentots, natives of Greenland, native Hawaiian Islanders, Hindus, Chinese, Egyptians, Greeks, Persians, Australian natives, the Welsh, Celts, Druids, Siberians, and Lithuanians. Of the more than 200 cultures that have their own account of the flood, the following aspects of the story are common. 88% described a favored family, Noah and his family. 70% attribute survival to a boat, the ark. 95% say the sole cause of the catastrophe is a flood. 66% say that the disaster is due to man's wickedness. 67% records that animals are also saved. 57 describe that the survivors end up on a mountain, Mount Ararat. Many of the accounts also specifically mention birds being sent out a rainbow and 8 persons being saved, and the mountains were covered. This took a lot of water, but there is plenty of water on the earth today to do this. But because of the topography of the earth, the water is collected into the oceans. Can you just realize how much we don't know about the very depths of the ocean? And we're not even allowed in there. We're not even allowed to go to the very deepest part of the ocean because we're going to explode if we do. There's so much pressure down there that who knows what's underneath. Is hell down there? I don't know. I mean, eruptions of volcanoes and stuff like that. What is that what does that represent? I'm thinking maybe it is the lake of fire in the middle of the earth, which in the very core of the earth is lava or magma. Anyway, we're gonna find out soon enough, right? So there you go. There you have it. There are people in different parts of the world where they have the same story that the Bible is telling. So to disprove it, I mean, you're gonna have to, you have to be able to disprove it, and the way to disprove it is to just really do your research and try to make stuff up, because you can't make this up. If there is the Noah's Ark that's been found And everything that the Bible describes the ark to be is what they saw in the ark. So, oh, this is real. This is interesting. So, all in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, all that was on the dry land died. In the Scopes a Monkey trial in America, 1925, Clarence Darrow humiliated William Jennings Bryan by asking him if he believed every word in the Bible. When Bryan said he did, Darrow asked him how the fish drowned in the flood. Bryan didn't know the answer, gave a long, confused speech, and died the next day. If only he would have known the Bible better, he would have known it says this about the breath of the Spirit of life. The fish did not die in the flood, only animals with the breath of life in them died, and animals on dry land. Because obviously, if you can breathe underwater, how would the fish die? How would ocean life die when they already live in the water? Duh. Okay? So God did just as he said. Virtually all of Noah's contemporaries did not believe God would do just as he said. Though it took 120 years, God demonstrated that he keeps his promises and is totally faithful. That's the thing about God. He could choose to do anything he wants, but he chose to be very devoted to us. Even though it's hard to imagine and it's hard to comprehend how a deity, someone who's all powerful and all encompassing, will be devoted to us, mere mortals, mere human beings, that we don't deserve any of this. Okay, we don't. So let's not be prideful with God. Imagine a deity, someone who is ever living, everlasting, ever powerful, ever knowing, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent creator, our creator. Just like my troll said, our creator. Yeah, sure, I agree with that. Loves us so much that no matter what our failures, he still loves us no matter what. Let's not be prideful about that. Let's not say, oh, well, he's gonna love longer, No, guys, no. This is God we're talking about. I can't say enough about how awesome our God is, how awesome He's our Father. Jesus is our Father. Jesus is our brother. Jesus is our friend. Jesus is our everything. So he died for us, guys. Just like, can you die for someone? I would say no. Like, when it comes right down to it, can you really die for someone? Let alone like a whole civilization of people. It's hard. Safe in the ark, God sustained Noah and his family through the time of catastrophe and judgment, shut in and sheltered from the storm. Noah underwent burial to all old things that he might come into a new world. And even so, we die in Christ that we may live with him. Okay, so Noah went into an emotional burial of all things that was the time past, because he knew that his life is going to be renewed and the world is going to be renewed, and that's a big responsibility for him. And just as we are forgetting our old life and finally submitting our lives to Jesus who died for us, we are now renewed individuals. We're renewed human beings. We're renewed children of God. And again, God understands that we're still flesh, right? but we have to try our very best to live a life that's righteous, not self-righteous. There's a huge difference. Self-righteous is saying that I don't care about God. God is not going to help me out. I help myself. No, that's being self-righteous. Righteous is being in God's will, just immersing yourself and marinating yourself in His will. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, because He knows our heart. He knows that even though we're very sinful, as long as we have Him, as long as we have a relationship with Him, there's not one night or day that would pass without us asking for forgiveness for what we've done the day before. And also not committing the sins that will just totally break His heart, or any sin. Okay, you can't be perfect. Of course you can't be perfect, and I can't stress that enough, but you can do your very best to not sin no more. So this is where we end chapter 7. So we have gone so long anyway. So now I say, please guys, like, subscribe, and pass it on along. Bye.